Yo, what is up YouTube? And today we're going to be taking a look at the green SR healer slash purifier, dispeller, whatever you want to call her, and that is SANIA. Now SANIA is a very underrated unit. I think that she's one of the more powerful supports in the game, mostly because she has very good healing every single turn available, and she also has purifying, which is very good at taking off debuffs for your team. On top of that, she has revive in case someone dies, so if you're doing long stages such as Anti-Sync Echoes or Ember Trek and you randomly have your DPS die, she can save your run still because she can revive them. And also, even if you don't want to revive with your S3, it's a decent single target heal, but on top of that, you get this very strong buff in all-powerful protection. This will increase your max HP by 20% up to 2 times, so 40%, and this is going to be extremely good for a lot of stages where you're noticing you're taking a ton of damage and you don't have enough time to heal up, because it pretty much will give you 40% damage reduction if you have 2 stacks on a character, if you want to think about it that way, which makes this a super powerful tool, especially when you're facing tough content. She also cycles very quickly with her S1. If you actually max this out, she cycles extremely fast, which I plan to do eventually. It makes it so that she can heal a lot more and also purify a ton more, which is going to be very good in a lot of bosses, notably like Sharon. Now for her gear, it's pretty simple. You want to run her on Swift Rush, Cure, and Evil Guard once you get to the late game. Most important one is definitely Swift Rush. You want her to be fast and take turns because her healing isn't like the biggest reason why you pick her. Sure, she heals a decent amount, especially on Cure, but mostly you want her to be fast because you want her to purify debuffs. You're not going to ever pick her because you need a lot of healing. You're going to pick her because you want debuffs gone from your team and because she has this max HP buff for you. In terms of raw healing, she does a lot of healing over long periods of time, but her burst healing is pretty weak, which makes her a little bit worse than Linglo in terms of healing, because usually burst healing is just way better than small heals over time, especially when you're hitting hard bosses. Evil Guard, of course, just extra healing effect. If you have her on the setup, you'll notice that she heals a ton, which actually makes her go from a mediocre healer to a very good healer. But in the early game, you'll notice that her healing is a little bit lackluster, so you're probably going to want to pair her with another healer. Now, for your shell, there's a lot of options. I like to run Jackal Guard because not only does it give you a speed buff, but it also pushes your turn meter. This makes it so that you cycle even faster, and you can get more passive procs off, and you can get your S3 off cooldown faster. And it's very important that you start stacking this buff on your teammates, especially before we go into hard phases of bosses. If you're finding yourself dying on like the last floor of Ember Trek because of the damage on the 3rd phase of the boss, SANIA is a very good pick because before you hit that phase, you can have like a stack of this on everyone or like 2 stacks of it on like your squishy characters. Makes it so that you can't really die. Now, there's a ton of other options you can go for shell. Jackal Guard is just what I prefer, and also because I kind of rolled the god tier Jackal Guard for her. But I would like recommend something even like an Artisan to make sure you get more shielding for your team to stop yourself from getting bursted. Gigabyte's a decent option as well if you're fighting boss fights with a lot of enemies on the enemy side. You can run something like a Halloween to reduce your cooldown. You can also run Fortissimo for extra healing and to actually store the excess healing, which is also extremely powerful on her. A lot of choices. I like just to cycle her faster because I use her more as a purifier, but she's a very solid pick as long as you have decent gear for her. Like I mentioned, early game she might seem a little lackluster, but her scaling into the late game is super strong because as your characters get started up, leveled up, your all-powerful protection gets even stronger, and you're going to see that her dispels are super important in the late game against some bosses. Who do you pair her with? There's a lot of options. Like I said, she's a good healer and dispeller, so you're going to want to pair her with usually more healing, to be honest, because her healing isn't the best, and because she suffers against bursts, because her S2 is kind of like a long-term healing effect, you really want to pair her with something that can do attack down. So Vice is extremely good. One of the best pairs with SANIA because of the fact that he can taunt characters, and while doing that he can heal them as well and also purify, and he also has a turn meter pushback and attack down. So they kind of overlap roles, but they actually work really well together because usually the reason why you bring SANIA is against bosses with a lot of debuffs. So if you bring Vice as well, like you'll never have debuffs on your side. Another good option to pair her with is Catchy the Guard. He has immunity, which is great, and he also has defense buff, which makes your team a lot harder to burst. Also, he has speed down and pushback on his S2, which is just super broken and allows for the boss to not do as much damage, so you can have more time to heal up. She's also very good with Linglo, right? Linglo does really good burst healing, but very, I would say like average, like regular healing over time. She's really reliant on her S3 and S2 unless you max her S1, which most people can't really do right now. So because of that, they pair very well. You'll see them actually paired together quite often. Now for other characters, usually you want to pair with something that can manipulate turn meter for your team. So Freya's okay, Lily's a very good option, Chiaki the Echo, Doki Doki even is very good, Tsukio is also very good as well, and then you have to pair her also with the DPS because she does no damage. This type of strategy is very good against bosses that don't have like an enrage timer, like a ramp up every turn. So, you know, Terramaton's very bad for this because it gets a stacking attack buff. But something like Sharon in Anasync Echoes, which is currently the last boss, she's extremely broken here because of the fact that the fight takes forever. Like you can see the clears go from like 15 minutes onwards. I think mine was like 20. This guy's took 47 minutes. And because of this, she's really good because you can stack up your S3 on a lot of characters, right? And make it so you don't die. So you're gonna see that she's paired usually with like pretty much 3 supports. Like you'll see that's my team at the bottom here actually, I just realized. But you'll see I had her, you know, with 3 supports here. I had Lily for turn meter push and my damage dealer, which was Holden. So, you know, very good strategy for a lot of hard stages. Definitely recommend doing it, not just for Sharon, but for a ton of the Anasync Echo stages that you're struggling with, especially like bosses that, you know, just take forever to kill because she can keep your team from ever dying. And she's also very good in Ember Trek. So if you're struggling against something like a Sharon and Ember Trek, she's very good here as well. I don't know if people like to use her as much because they don't really know about her being that strong, but it's very good. She's also good against a Pate, very good here. And even something, if you go to the last boss, which is this guy, Astarte, she's also good here too. Of course, people don't really use her, like I mentioned, because, you know, they just always bring thing though. But you can always swap out like a Freya for her, or you can even swap out like, you know, the Kloss for her, even though they don't really do the same thing at all, and she can't really replace those characters. SANIA provides something that like not many characters do, which is just pretty much unable to be, you know, one shot later on. And this is very important because in this fight, for example, in the 3rd phase, you can get one shot very easily, especially if you choose the card that makes her have no cooldown on her ult, which is what most people choose because it's probably one of the easier ones to do. So because of that, you know, if you have the ramp up on her S3 going into the stage, then your team can't really die and it makes her very strong. I think SANIA is a great unit to pick up. She's super powerful in a lot of content. You can always slot her in anywhere because, you know, she's a healer. You can literally slot her in Cage Rumble. You can slot her in Phantom Theater. You can even slot her in Ethernet Rally. She's super strong in Ethernet Rally. There's a ton of bosses that she's good in. I used her in a lot of the ones like Sharon and stuff like that. And also, I think I used her in Dahlia, which she was very good for. So because of that, you know, definitely want to make sure that you have her built, because she is like one of the few healers in this game, and she's extremely good not only in PvE but also in PvP for tank down comps. So I'll just show you guys a hard mode fight of Sharon and Ember Trek. This is floor 6 in hard mode, meaning that, you know, you have to beat normal to unlock it, but this is basically one of the hardest Sharon fights in the game. Basically, you're going to see the team that I'm running is a pretty standard one. You run with SANIA. You're going to run pretty much 3 supports, a DPS, and a turn manipulator, whether it be Lily, Doki Doki, Chiaki the Echo, and, you know, something like that. You can also take out Lily for another support instead of a turn manipulator. The fights will just take a lot longer, and you'll see that basically her role in this team is to just dispel everyone. And also, if any dots leak through the immunities, she's able to cleanse it off and also keep my team alive very well by cycling. And she's also going to be using her S3 to boost the maximum health of my team so they can never really die to anything. And she's also here as insurance because it makes it so that we can never really wipe unless she's dead. If my DPS, my Yelly, ever randomly dies, she can just get revived. My team can stall long enough for the cooldown. So right away, I have a stack on my Yelly here. She has 20% more health. Basically means that she's going to be taking effectively 20% less damage now, which is great. And you're going to see that you want to spread this around your team rather than just giving 2 stacks to someone right away. Usually you don't want to auto in these harder like Ember Trek and Anasync Echo stages anyways. So if you're manualing it, just make sure you spread your S3. It doesn't heal that much, the S3 application, so you don't have to hold on to it. I would just send it on cooldown and just stack it up as much as you can on your team, and you'll make it so that your team can pretty much never die. But you'll see, you know, very easy. and we phase to phase 2. I'm not going to show you after this, I'll just show you phase 2, just because phase 2 has like the most AoE damage, and you'll see that she is able to cleanse my team just pretty much all the time from these dots. And the only time she can feel weak is if you get caught like this in a stun, because you can't really cleanse the stun off. That's why you want to pair her with other supports, right? Even though she's a good cleanser, even though she has decent healing, there's always chance for RNG to screw you over. Just because of that, you want to be careful. Now she's going to S3 herself, I believe. Oh, she S3s Catchy. Ideally, you want to S3 yourself, like the SANIA, because if she dies, you can never get revived again. But if someone else dies, you can revive them, right? So it's very important to make sure that you get your S3s on your SANIA. Just because if she dies, your run's pretty much over, but if anyone else dies, you can still save it. So right now I have a stack on Yelly, and I have a stack on Catchy, and you can see, going into phase 3, I will be able to get probably a 3rd and 4th stack across my team, which will be very, very good. But yeah, I'm not going to show you guys anymore. It's pretty much how it works. You can just cheese a lot of bosses with a ton of supports and 1 DPS, and SANIA is a big core part of that, right? She basically makes it so that your team can never really wipe or die, and she increases your max HP, which is insane. But thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful, and I'll see you guys next time.